There is a hidden force within every human being that quietly shapes thoughts, actions, habits, and destiny. This force does not shout, does not argue, does not question, yet it listens carefully to every idea. You repeat every emotion you feel, and every image you hold in your mind. This force is your subconscious mind, and whether you realize it or not, it is always working, always absorbing, always responding. Most people spend their lives trying to control the outside world while completely ignoring the inner world that controls everything else. They try harder, push more, struggle endlessly, and yet they do not see the results they desire. The reason is simple. The conscious mind can wish, but the subconscious mind decides. The conscious mind can plan, but the subconscious mind executes. The conscious mind can dream, but the subconscious mind determines whether those dreams become reality. To command your subconscious mind is not about force or pressure. It is not about controlling it like a machine. It is about understanding it, aligning with it, and guiding it in a way that it naturally follows. Your subconscious mind does not resist it, simply obeys. It obeys repetition, emotion, belief, and imagination. Whatever you feed into it consistently becomes your reality. From childhood, the subconscious mind begins recording everything: words, from parents' experiences in school, emotional moments, failures, successes, fears, and joys. All of these become programs running in the background, shaping how you see yourself and the world around you. If a person grows up hearing that they are not good enough, the subconscious accepts it. If a person is encouraged and supported, the subconscious builds confidence. The truth is that your current life is a reflection of your subconscious programming. Your habits, your reactions, your level of confidence, your ability to take risks, your relationships, your success. All of it is influenced by what your subconscious has accepted as truth. This is why two people with similar opportunities can end up with completely different outcomes. One may rise with confidence, while the other holds back with fear. The difference lies within. But here is the most powerful realization. Your subconscious mind can be reprogrammed. It is not fixed. It is not permanent. It is not your enemy. It is your greatest ally when you learn how to communicate with it in the right way. Once you understand its language, you can begin to plant new beliefs, replace limiting thoughts, and create patterns that support your goals. This journey is not about overnight transformation. It is about consistent influence. It is about learning how to direct your thoughts, choosing what you believe, and reinforcing what you want to become. It is about becoming aware of the patterns that control you and consciously rewriting them with intention. When you learn to command your subconscious mind, you begin to notice changes that once seemed impossible. Fear begins to fade, confidence begins to grow, habits begin to shift, and opportunities begin to appear. You start acting differently, thinking differently, and feeling differently without forcing yourself. The change feels natural because it is coming from within. This book is designed to guide you through that process step by step. You will learn how your subconscious mind works, how it absorbs information, and how you can use proven techniques like repetition, visualization, emotional reinforcement, and focused attention to influence it. You will understand why some methods fail and how to apply them correctly so they actually create results. You will not be asked to believe blindly. Instead, you will be encouraged to observe, practice, and experience the changes for yourself. Because true understanding comes not from reading alone, but from applying what you learn. As you move forward through these chapters, you will begin to take control of what once controlled you. You will realize that the power you have been searching for outside has always existed within, waiting to be awakened, guided, and directed. The subconscious mind is the silent engine behind everything you do. It works beneath your awareness, yet it influences nearly every decision, emotion, and habit in your life. While your conscious mind thinks, analyzes, and makes choices, your subconscious mind stores patterns and executes them automatically. It is always active, always listening, and always shaping your reality based on what it has learned. To understand the subconscious mind, imagine it as a fertile field. Whatever you plant in this field will grow. It does not question whether the seed is good or bad, true or false, helpful or harmful. It simply accepts what is repeatedly given to it and turns it into reality. If you plant seeds of doubt, fear, and limitation, those will grow. If you plant seeds of confidence, clarity, and belief, those will grow instead. From the moment you are born, your subconscious mind begins recording everything. It absorbs words from people around you, experiences from your environment, and on. Emotions attached to those experiences. As a child, you do not question what you hear. If someone says you are strong, if someone says you are weak, your subconscious stores that as well. Over time, these stored beliefs become the foundation of how you see yourself. The subconscious mind does not think in logical steps like the conscious mind. It works through associations, images, and emotions. This is why a single emotional experience can shape your behavior for years. A moment of embarrassment can create long-lasting fear, while a moment of success can build confidence that lasts a lifetime. The stronger the emotion, the deeper the impression on the subconscious. Another important aspect is that the subconscious mind seeks consistency. It tries to match your actions with your beliefs. If you believe that you are not capable, your subconscious will guide your actions in a way that confirms this belief. You may hesitate, avoid opportunities, or give up easily. Not because you consciously want to fail, because your subconscious is trying to stay aligned with what it believes is true. At the same time, if you believe that you are capable, your subconscious will push you toward growth. You will take risks, persist through challenges, and notice opportunities that others ignore. This is why belief is not just a mental idea, it is a powerful command that shapes your behavior automatically. The subconscious mind also controls habits. Habits are repeated actions that no longer require conscious effort. When you first learn something like driving or writing, it requires focus and attention, but over time, it becomes automatic. This shift from conscious effort to subconscious execution is what makes habits so powerful. Once something is stored as a habit, it continues with little resistance. For example, there was a man who always believed he was bad at learning new skills. Whenever he tried something new, he would quickly become frustrated and quit. He told himself, "This is just who I am." Over time, his subconscious accepted this belief and created a pattern of avoidance and self-doubt. One day, he decided to challenge this belief. He started small by learning a simple skill, and instead of focusing on difficulty, he repeated to himself, "I am learning. I am improving." He celebrated small progress and stayed consistent. His subconscious began to receive a new message. Over time, the pattern changed. He found himself more patient, more focused, and more willing to try new things. The belief that once limited him was replaced with one that supported him. Another example is a woman who had a habit of negative thinking. She would automatically expect the worst in every situation, and this created stress and anxiety in her daily life. She did not choose these thoughts consciously. They appeared automatically because they were programmed into her subconscious. She began practicing awareness. Whenever a negative thought appeared, she paused and replaced it with a more balanced thought. She did not force herself to be unrealistically positive, but she chose thoughts that were supportive and constructive. At the same time, she spent time each day visualizing calm and positive outcomes. Gradually, her subconscious started adopting these new patterns. Her automatic thoughts became more balanced, and her emotional state improved. These examples show an important truth: your subconscious mind can be shaped. It is not fixed, and it is not beyond your control. The patterns you have today were created over time, and they can be changed with the right approach. Understanding this gives you power. It means that you are not limited by your past programming. You are not defined by old beliefs or habits. You have the ability to influence your subconscious mind and guide it toward outcomes that align with your goals. However, This process requires patience and consistency. The subconscious mind does not change instantly because it is designed to protect stability. It needs repeated signals, clear direction, and emotional reinforcement before it accepts something as truth. This is why many people fail. They try for a short time and then give up before the change takes root. To truly command your subconscious mind, you must first respect how it works. You must understand that it responds to repetition, emotion, and belief more than logic. You must become aware of the patterns that already exist and consciously choose what you want to replace them with. This chapter is the foundation of everything that follows. Without understanding the nature of the subconscious mind, it is impossible to guide it effectively. Once you recognize that your thoughts are seeds, your beliefs are commands, and your emotions are fuel, you begin to see how much influence you truly have. The journey ahead is about using this understanding to create change. It is about moving from being controlled by unconscious patterns to consciously directing them. It is about transforming the silent force within you into a powerful ally that supports your growth, success, and fulfillment. Chapter 2. The Power of Belief and Repetition. The subconscious mind does not respond to what you want once or think about occasionally. It responds to what you believe deeply and repeat consistently. Belief is the language of the subconscious, and repetition is the method through which that language is learned. When a thought is repeated again and again, especially with emotion, it begins to settle into the subconscious and eventually becomes a belief. Once a belief is formed, the subconscious starts acting on it without needing further instruction. Many people misunderstand this process. They think that simply saying positive words a few times will create change, but the subconscious does not respond to empty words. It responds to conviction and consistency. If the words you repeat are not supported by feeling and repetition, this is why negative beliefs often feel stronger, because they are repeated more often and usually carry stronger emotions. Fear, doubt, and past failures reinforce them again and again until they become deeply rooted. The important realization is that this same process can be used to build empowering beliefs. The subconscious does not prefer negative over positive. It simply accepts what it is given repeatedly. If you begin to consciously choose your thoughts and repeat them with intention, you can reshape your inner world. Repetition works because it creates familiarity. The subconscious mind trusts what is familiar. When an idea is repeated enough times, it stops feeling new or uncertain and starts feeling natural. This is the moment when a thought turns into belief, and belief turns into automatic behavior. Emotion strength. A thought repeated without feeling has little impact, but a thought combined with emotion becomes powerful. When you feel what you are thinking, your subconscious receives a stronger signal. This is why imagining success while feeling excitement or confidence is far more effective than repeating words without connection. It is also important to understand that repetition is not only what you say intentionally, it is also what you think unconsciously throughout the day. If you spend most of your time repeating thoughts of worry, doubt, or limitation, those become your dominant beliefs, even if you try to counter them briefly with positive affirmations. The subconscious listens to the majority, not the occasional effort. For example, there was a young man who wanted to become confident in social situations. He would tell himself before meeting people that he was confident, but during interactions, he would constantly think, "I am awkward. I am not good enough." This repetition of negative thoughts was stronger than his short moments of positive affirmation. His subconscious continued to support the belief that he lacked confidence. He decided to change his approach. Instead of only repeating positive words, occasionally he made a conscious effort to monitor his thoughts throughout the day. Whenever a negative thought appeared, he replaced it with a supportive one. He also spent time each morning and night imagining himself speaking confidently and enjoying conversations. At first it felt unnatural, but he stayed consistent. Over time, his subconscious began accepting this new pattern. He noticed that his reactions changed. he felt more relaxed, and his confidence started to grow naturally. Another example is a woman who struggled with financial insecurity. She constantly repeated thoughts like money is hard to earn, and I never have enough. Even when opportunities came her way, she hesitated because her subconscious was aligned with scarcity. She began practicing daily repetition of new beliefs, such as I create value and attract abundance. She combined these thoughts with visualization of financial stability and feelings of security. She did this consistently not just once, but every day, while also becoming aware of her negative patterns. Whenever she caught herself thinking in scarcity, she redirected her thoughts. Gradually, her subconscious shifted. She started making better decisions, taking opportunities, and managing her finances with confidence. Her external situation began to reflect her internal change. These examples highlight a key truth. Your subconscious mind follows the pattern that is repeated most often with the strongest emotion. It does not matter whether that pattern is helpful or harmful, it will still follow it. This is why consistency is more important than intensity. A single moment of strong motivation is not enough to create lasting change. It is the small repeated actions and thoughts that shape your subconscious over time. Even if the change feels slow at first, each repetition is adding to the new pattern. Another important factor is patience. Many people give up because they do not see immediate results, but the subconscious mind requires time to accept new beliefs, especially if old beliefs have been reinforced for years. The process is similar to learning a new habit. It may feel uncomfortable or unnatural in the beginning, but with repetition, it becomes easier and eventually automatic. To use belief and repetition effectively, you must be intentional about what you feed your mind. Choose thoughts that align with the person you want to become. Repeat them consistently and support them with emotion. Pay attention to your internal dialogue throughout the day and gently guide it in the direction you want. Over time, your subconscious will begin to accept these new ideas as truth. And once that happens, your actions will start to change without force. You will notice that what once required effort begins to feel natural. This is the power of belief and repetition working together. When you understand and apply this principle, you take a major step toward commanding your subconscious mind. Silence the inner critic. Within every person, there is a voice that speaks quietly, yet persistently. This voice often questions, judges, and doubts. It points out weaknesses, reminds you of past failures, and creates hesitation before action. This is the inner critic, and it is one of the strongest influences on the subconscious mind. The inner critic is not created overnight. It is formed through years of experiences, words from others, and repeated self-judgment. At some point, the mind learns to protect itself by anticipating failure or rejection, but instead of protecting, it often limits growth. It keeps you in a familiar space where risks are avoided and potential remains unrealized. The subconscious mind does not argue with this voice. It listens and accepts. If the inner critic repeats that you are not capable or not ready, the subconscious begins to treat that as truth and shapes your behavior accordingly. You may avoid opportunities, hesitate in important moments, or give up before fully trying, not because you lack ability, but because the subconscious is following the instructions it has received. Silencing the inner critic does not mean fighting it aggressively or trying to force it away. The more you resist it with frustration, the more attention you give it, and attention strengthens it. Instead, the goal is to become aware of it, observe it, and gradually replace its influence with a more supportive inner voice. Awareness is the first step. Many people are not even conscious of their inner critic because it feels normal. It blends into their thinking and operates automatically. The moment you start noticing your thoughts, you begin to separate. You realize that the voice is not you, but a pattern that has been repeated. Once you become aware, you can begin to interrupt the pattern. When a negative thought appears, instead of accepting it immediately, you pause. You recognize it and choose not to give it power. This pause creates space And in that space, you can introduce a new thought, one that is constructive and aligned with your goals. It is important to understand that replacing the inner critic does not mean pretending everything is perfect. It means choosing thoughts that are realistic yet supportive. Instead of saying, "I will fail," you shift to "I am learning and improving." Instead of "I am not good enough," you shift to "I am growing and becoming better." This approach feels more natural and is easier for the subconscious to accept. Another powerful method is mindfulness. When you practice focusing on the present moment, such as observing your breath or your surroundings, you reduce the constant noise of the mind. The inner critic thrives on constant thinking, but when the mind becomes still, its influence weakens. Over time, this practice helps you gain greater control over your thoughts. The subconscious mind responds strongly to repeated patterns, so silencing the inner critic requires consistency. It is not a one-time action, but a continuous process of awareness and redirection. Each time you choose a supportive thought over a negative one, you are training your subconscious to follow a new pattern. For example, there was a student who constantly doubted his abilities, especially during exams. As soon as he saw a difficult question, his mind would say, "I cannot do this. I am going to fail." This thought would create anxiety and block his ability to think clearly. He decided to practice awareness during his study sessions. Whenever the negative voice appeared, he paused and replaced it with, "I will try step by step. I can figure this out." He also practiced calming his mind through slow breathing and visualization of success. At first, the inner critic still appeared frequently, but he remained consistent. Over time, the intensity of the negative voice reduced. His mind became calmer during exams, and he was able to focus better, leading to improved results. Another example is an individual who wanted to start a business, but was held back by constant self-doubt. Every time he considered taking action, his inner voice would say, "It is too risky. You will fail. Others are better than you." This repeated pattern kept him stuck for years. He began journaling his thoughts, writing down every negative belief he noticed. Seeing them on paper helped him realize how often they appeared. He then started replacing each negative statement with a more empowering one, such as, "I am capable of learning and growing. I can take small steps." He also visualized himself successfully running a business and feeling confident. With time, his subconscious started accepting these new ideas. The fear did not disappear instantly, but it became manageable enough for him to take action and move forward. These examples show that the inner critic loses its power when it is no longer accepted automatically. The moment you question it, observe it, and replace it, you begin to. It is also helpful to understand that the inner critic often uses past experiences as evidence. It reminds you of moments where things did not go well and uses them to predict the future. But the past does not define your future unless it is repeated without change. When you introduce new thoughts and actions, you create new experiences, and these begin to reshape your subconscious. Silencing the inner critic is not about becoming free from all negative thoughts. It is about changing your relationship with them. Instead of being controlled by them, you become the observer and the guide. You choose which thoughts to reinforce and which ones to let go. As you continue this practice, you will notice a shift. The constant noise of self-doubt begins to fade, and a quieter, more supportive voice emerges. This new voice encourages growth, supports action, and builds confidence. It becomes the dominant influence on your subconscious. This chapter is a crucial step in learning to command your subconscious mind, because as long as the inner critic controls your thoughts, it will continue to control your actions. When you learn to silence it and replace it with intention, you begin to direct your mind rather than being directed by it. This is where true control begins to take shape. Chapter 4. Visualization as command. The subconscious mind does not understand words alone. It understands images, feelings, and experiences. This is why visualization is one of the most powerful ways to command it. When you create a clear mental picture and feel it as if it is real, your subconscious begins to accept it as reality. It does not wait for proof from the outside world. It responds to the experience you create within. Visualization is not just daydreaming or wishing. It is a focused, intentional process where you see your desired outcome in detail and connect it with strong emotion. The more vivid and real the image feels, the stronger the impact on your subconscious. When practiced consistently, this method begins to influence your thoughts, actions, and decisions in a natural way. The mind cannot clearly distinguish between a real experience and a vividly imagined one. If you imagine something with enough detail and emotion, your brain reacts as if it is actually happening. This is why athletes often use visualization to improve performance. They mentally rehearse their actions again and again until their body follows the same pattern in reality. When you visualize, you are sending a clear message to your subconscious. This is what I want. This is what I expect. This is who I am becoming. Over time, your subconscious aligns your behavior with this message. You begin to notice opportunities, take actions, and make choices. You must feel the emotions associated with success, such as confidence, joy, and satisfaction. The more senses you involve, the more powerful the experience becomes. Another important factor is repetition. Just like belief is built through repeated thoughts, visualization becomes effective when practiced consistently. A single session may inspire you, but regular practice programs your subconscious. Each time you repeat the image, you strengthen the pattern and make it more familiar to your mind. Emotion plays a central role in this process. If you visualize without feeling, it remains a surface-level activity. But when you feel the experience deeply, your subconscious receives a stronger command. This is why it is important to not only see the outcome, but also experience the emotions that come with it. Feel the confidence, feel the excitement, feel the sense of achievement, as if it is already happening. It is also important to visualize from a first-person perspective. Instead of seeing yourself from the outside, imagine looking through your own eyes, experiencing the moment directly. This makes the visualization more immersive and convincing for the subconscious. For example, there was a young athlete who wanted to win a major competition. He had the physical ability, but often felt nervous and unfocused during important moments. He decided to use visualization as part of his training. Every day he closed his eyes and imagined himself in the competition. He saw the field, the crowd, and his own movements. He felt calm, focused, and confident. He imagined At first, it felt like imagination, but he continued consistently. Over time, his subconscious began to accept this image as familiar. When the actual competition arrived, he felt less nervous because his mind had already experienced the situation many times. He performed with confidence and achieved results that matched his visualization. Another example is a woman who wanted to improve her career and step into a leadership role. She often doubted herself and hesitated to take initiative. She began practicing visualization each morning. She imagined herself speaking clearly in meetings, making decisions with confidence, and leading her team successfully. She focused on the feeling of being respected, capable, and in control. She repeated this daily and combined it with small actions in her work environment. Over time, her subconscious started supporting this new identity. She found herself speaking up more, taking responsibility, and handling challenges with greater confidence. Opportunities began to appear, and she stepped into a leadership position that once felt out of reach. These examples show that visualization is not about escaping reality, but about shaping it from within. It prepares your mind before the actual experience occurs, and this preparation influences how you act when the moment arrives. It is also important to avoid negative visualization. Many people unknowingly imagine failure, worry about what could go wrong, and replay negative scenarios in their mind. This also programs the subconscious because it does not distinguish between positive and negative images. If you repeatedly imagine failure, your subconscious begins to expect it and your behavior follows that expectation. To use visualization effectively, you must become aware of the images you create in your mind. Replace negative scenarios with constructive ones, and guide your imagination toward outcomes that support your goals. This does not mean ignoring challenges, but it means focusing on solutions and successful outcomes rather than fear. Visualization works best when combined with action. It is not a substitute for effort, but a tool that enhances it. When your subconscious is aligned with your goals, your actions become more focused, consistent, and effective. You are not forcing yourself to act. You are acting in alignment with what you already believe and expect. As you continue practicing visualization, you will notice changes in how you think and feel. Situations that once caused fear begin to feel familiar. Goals that once seemed distant begin to feel achievable. This shift happens because your subconscious has accepted a new reality and is guiding you toward it. This chapter introduces a powerful method for influencing your subconscious mind. By creating clear mental images and repeating them with emotion, you send strong commands that shape your behavior and outcomes. When used consistently, visualization becomes a bridge between your current reality and the future you want to create. Chapter 5. The role of emotions in programming the subconscious. The subconscious mind does not respond strongly to words alone. It responds to feelings. Emotions are the force that gives power to thoughts. Without emotion, a thought is weak and temporary. But when a thought is combined with strong feeling, it becomes deeply rooted in the subconscious. This is why emotional experiences stay with you for years, while neutral moments are quickly forgotten. Every belief you hold is connected to an emotion. If you believe something positive, it is usually supported by feelings of confidence, excitement, or security. If you believe something negative, it is supported by fear, doubt, or discomfort. The subconscious stores these emotional patterns and uses them to guide your reactions in similar situations. When you want to command your subconscious mind, you must understand how to use emotion intentionally. It is not enough to repeat positive statements or visualize success. You must feel them deeply. The stronger the emotion, the stronger the impression on your subconscious. Emotion acts like a signal that tells the subconscious, "This is important, pay attention." When you feel something intensely, your mind becomes focused and receptive. This is why moments of fear or joy can shape behavior so quickly. They create a strong emotional imprint that the subconscious remembers and repeats. Many people unknowingly program their subconscious with negative emotions. They spend time worrying, imagining failure, or feeling stressed about situations that have not even happened. Each time they do this, they strengthen the emotional connection to fear, and their subconscious begins to expect similar outcomes. To change this pattern, you must learn to generate positive emotions intentionally. This does not mean forcing yourself to feel something fake. It means creating experiences in your mind that naturally produce supportive emotions. When you visualize success, feel the joy of achieving it. When you think about your goals, feel the excitement of Notice what triggers certain emotions and how they influence your thoughts and actions. This awareness gives you the ability to respond instead of reacting automatically. Once you become aware, you can begin to shift your emotional state. When you feel negative emotion, you do not have to suppress it, but you can choose how long you stay in it. You can redirect your focus towards something constructive, such as a solution, a positive memory, or a goal. This shift gradually changes the emotional patterns stored in your subconscious. It is also helpful to connect emotions with repetition and visualization. When you repeat a belief or imagine a goal, combine it with strong feeling. This creates a powerful signal that your subconscious cannot ignore. Over time, these emotional experiences build new patterns that replace old ones. For example, there was a person who always felt anxious before important meetings. Even when he prepared well, his mind would fill with worry, and his body would respond with tension. His subconscious had associated meetings with stress due to past experiences. He decided to change this emotional pattern. Before each meeting, he spent a few minutes visualizing himself, speaking clearly and confidently. But more importantly, he focused on feeling calm and in control. He practiced slow breathing and imagined a sense of ease in his body. He repeated this process consistently. Over time, his subconscious began associating meetings with calmness instead of anxiety. His emotional response changed, and his performance improved naturally. Another example is a woman who wanted to build self-confidence but struggled with feelings of insecurity. She would repeat positive statements, but they had little effect because she did not feel them deeply. She changed her approach by focusing on emotional experiences. She recalled moments in her life where she felt proud and confident and allowed herself to feel those emotions fully. She then connected those feelings with her affirmations and visualization. Each day she practiced feeling confidence rather than just saying it. Gradually her subconscious accepted this new emotional pattern. She started carrying herself differently, speaking with assurance, and taking actions that reflected her inner change. These examples show that emotion is the key to effective subconscious programming. Without it, your efforts remain at the surface, but with it, your influence becomes deep and lasting. It is also important to understand that your body responds to emotions as well. When you feel confident, your posture changes, your voice becomes stronger, and your actions become more decisive. When you feel fear, your body becomes tense, and your actions become limited. This connection between mind and body reinforces the patterns stored in your subconscious. By consciously generating positive emotions, you not only influence your mind, but also your physical state. This creates a cycle where your feelings support your actions, and your actions reinforce your beliefs. To use emotions effectively, you must practice regularly. Take time each day to connect with feelings that support your goals. Whether it is confidence, calmness, excitement, or determination, allow yourself to experience these emotions fully. Combine them with your thoughts and visualization so that your subconscious receives a clear and powerful message. As you continue this practice, you will notice that your emotional responses begin to change. Situations that once triggered fear may start to feel manageable. Moments that once felt uncertain may begin to feel exciting. This shift happens because your subconscious is learning a new emotional pattern. This chapter reveals a crucial truth. Your subconscious mind is guided by emotion more than logic. When you learn to direct your emotions intentionally, you gain a powerful tool for shaping your beliefs, habits, and actions. By combining emotion with repetition and visualization, you create a strong foundation for commanding your subconscious mind and guiding it toward the life you want to build. Chapter 6. The Power of Habits and Automatic Behavior. The subconscious mind expresses itself most clearly through habits. Habits are actions repeated so often that they no longer require conscious effort. They become automatic patterns that guide daily behavior without constant thinking. From the way you wake up in the morning to how you respond to challenges, much of your life is driven by habits stored in the subconscious. At first, every action requires attention. When you learn something new, but with repetition, the subconscious takes over and the action becomes natural. This process is efficient because it saves mental energy, but it also means that both positive and negative patterns can become deeply ingrained. The subconscious does not judge whether a habit is helpful or harmful. It simply follows the pattern that has been repeated most often. If you repeatedly act in a certain way, your subconscious assumes that this behavior is important and continues to reinforce it. This is why breaking unwanted habits can feel difficult. They are not just actions, they are deeply rooted patterns supported by the subconscious. To command your subconscious mind, you must understand how habits are formed and how they can be changed. Every habit follows a simple cycle, a trigger in action, and a result. The trigger starts the behavior. The action is the habit itself, and the result reinforces it. When this cycle repeats many times, it becomes automatic. For example, if a person feels stress, and responds by avoiding work, the relief they feel becomes the result that reinforces the habit. Over time, the subconscious connects stress with avoidance, and this pattern continues without conscious decision. Changing a habit does not mean removing it completely, because the subconscious prefers consistency. Instead, it is more effective to replace the habit with a new one that serves a similar purpose, but leads to a better outcome. This allows the subconscious to maintain a pattern while gradually shifting its direction. Awareness is the first step in this process. You must observe your habits and identify the triggers that start them. Pay attention to when the habit occurs, what you feel at that moment, and what result you experience. This understanding gives you control because you can intervene before the automatic behavior takes over. Once you recognize the pattern, you can introduce a new action. When the trigger appears, instead of following the old habit, you choose a different response. At first, this requires conscious effort, but with repetition, the new behavior begins to settle into the subconscious. Consistency is essential. The more often you repeat the new habit, the stronger it becomes. Each repetition sends a signal to the subconscious that this is the new pattern to follow. Over time, the old habit weakens and the new one becomes automatic. Emotion also plays a role in habit formation. If the new habit is connected with a positive feeling, it is more likely to be accepted by the subconscious. This is why it is helpful to create a sense of satisfaction or reward after performing the new behavior. Even a small acknowledgement can strengthen the pattern. For example, there was a person who had a habit of procrastination. Whenever he faced an important task, he would delay it and spend time on less important activities. This pattern was deeply rooted in his. He decided to change this habit by understanding its trigger. He noticed that the feeling of overwhelm was what led him to avoid work, instead of trying to eliminate the feeling he introduced. A new response: when he felt overwhelmed, he committed to working on the task for a short period without pressure to complete it. This small action reduced resistance and created a sense of progress. He repeated this approach consistently and allowed himself to feel satisfaction after taking action, even if it was minimal. Over time, his subconscious began to associate the trigger of overwhelm with starting the task rather than avoiding it. The habit shifted, and he became more productive without forcing himself. Another example is a woman who wanted to develop a habit of regular exercise. She had tried many times, but would stop after a few days because it felt difficult and inconsistent. She changed her approach by starting with a very simple routine that required minimal effort. She chose a specific time each day and linked the habit to an existing activity, such as waking up in the morning. Instead of focusing on intensity, she focused on consistency. She also connected the habit with positive emotions by appreciating how she felt after each session. As she repeated this process, her subconscious began to accept exercise as a normal part of her routine. The effort required to start decreased, and the habit became automatic. Over time, she increased the intensity naturally, without resistance. These examples show that habits are not controlled by willpower alone. They are guided by the subconscious through repetition and emotional reinforcement. When you work with this process instead of against it, change becomes easier and more. It is also important to be patient. Habits that have been formed over years will not disappear instantly. Subconscious needs time to accept new patterns and release old ones. Each small step contributes to the larger transformation, even if the progress is not immediately visible. To effectively use habits in commanding your subconscious mind, you must be intentional about your daily actions. Choose behaviors that align with your goals and repeat them consistently. Pay attention to triggers and responses and guide them in the direction you want. As new habits form, they begin to support your growth automatically. You no longer rely on constant motivation or effort because your subconscious is working with you instead of against you. This is the power of habits. They turn conscious effort into automatic success. This chapter highlights an essential truth: your daily actions shape your subconscious, and your subconscious shapes your daily actions. When you take control of your habits, you take control of the patterns that define your life and move closer to becoming the person you want to be. Chapter 7. The Influence of Environment on the Subconscious Mind. The subconscious mind does not exist in isolation. It is constantly shaped by the environment around you. Every sound, every conversation, every place, and every person you interact with sends signals to your mind. These signals may seem small, but over time, they build patterns that influence your thoughts, beliefs, and actions. Your environment is not only physical, it is also emotional and social. The people you spend time with, the information you consume, and the atmosphere you live in all contribute to how your subconscious is programmed. If you are surrounded by negativity, doubt, and limitation, your mind begins to absorb these patterns. If you are surrounded by encouragement, growth, and possibility, your subconscious begins to align with those instead. Many people try to change themselves without changing their environment. This creates a conflict, because even if you consciously try to think differently, your surroundings continue to reinforce old patterns. The subconscious listens more to what is repeated consistently, and your environment provides constant repetition. To command your subconscious mind, you must become aware of your environment and how it influences you. Notice the conversations you engage in. Notice the type of content you consume and the attitudes of the people around you. Ask yourself whether these elements support your goals or pull you away from them. This does not mean you must completely isolate yourself from everything negative, but it does mean you must be intentional about what you allow to influence your mind. The more you expose yourself to positive and growth-oriented environments, the easier it becomes for your subconscious to adopt supportive patterns. Your physical space also plays a role. A cluttered or chaotic environment can create mental distraction, while an organized and calm space can support focus and clarity. The subconscious responds to these subtle signals even when you are not aware of them. Creating a space that reflects your goals can reinforce the direction you want to move in. Another important aspect is the information you consume. The books you read, the videos you watch, and the conversations you listen to all become input for your subconscious. If you constantly consume information filled with fear or negativity, your mind begins to expect similar outcomes. If you choose content that inspires learning, growth, and possibility, your subconscious starts aligning with those ideas. The people around you have a particularly strong influence. Human beings naturally adapt to the behavior and beliefs of those they spend time with. If you are surrounded by individuals who doubt themselves and avoid challenges, it becomes easier to adopt the same mindset. If you are around people who take action and believe in growth, you begin to reflect those qualities. It is not always possible to change your entire social circle immediately, but you can start by limiting exposure to influences that drain your energy and increasing exposure to those that support you. Even small changes in your environment can have a significant impact over time. For example, there was a person who wanted to develop a positive mindset, but worked in an environment where people constantly complained and focused on problems. He noticed that despite his efforts, he would often fall back into negative thinking. He decided to make small adjustments. Instead of engaging in negative conversations, he chose to stay neutral or redirect the discussion. He also began listening to educational and motivational content during his free time and created a personal space at home that felt calm and focused. Over time, these changes influenced his subconscious. He found it easier to maintain a positive mindset even when surrounded by negativity because his overall environment had shifted. Another example is a woman who wanted to improve her productivity and focus. She realized that her environment was filled with distractions. Her workspace was cluttered, and she spent a lot of time on unproductive activities that kept her. She decided to create a structured environment. She organized her workspace, removed unnecessary distractions, and set specific times for focused work. She also surrounded herself with visual reminders of her goals and progress. These changes sent a clear signal to her subconscious that focus and productivity were important. Over time, her behavior aligned with this environment, and she became more consistent and effective in her work. These examples show that the environment acts as a constant source of programming for the subconscious. It reinforces patterns through repetition and familiarity. When you change your environment, you change the signals your subconscious receives, and this makes it easier to adopt new beliefs and behaviors. It is also important to understand that you can create internal environment as well. Through visualization and emotional control, you can generate a mental space that supports your goals even if your external environment is not perfect. This internal environment acts as a buffer, protecting your subconscious from negative influence and reinforcing positive patterns. However, the strongest results come when both internal and external environments are aligned, when what you see, hear, and experience matches. What you want to believe, your subconscious receives a clear and consistent message. This alignment accelerates change and makes new patterns more stable. To use your environment effectively, you must take responsibility for what surrounds you. Choose spaces that support clarity. Choose people who encourage growth, and choose information that expands your thinking. These choices may seem small, but they accumulate over time and shape your subconscious in powerful ways. As you continue this process, you will notice that your surroundings begin to reflect your inner change. You will naturally move toward environments that align with your goals and away from those that do not. This shift is a sign that your subconscious is adapting and guiding you in a new direction. This chapter highlights an important truth. Your environment is always influencing your subconscious, whether you are aware of it or not. When you take control of your environment, you take control of one of the most powerful factors, shaping your thoughts, beliefs, and actions. This is a key step in learning to command your subconscious mind and directing it toward the life you want to create. Chapter 8. Every moment of the day you are talking to yourself. Even when you are silent, there is a constant flow of thoughts moving through your mind. This inner dialogue may seem harmless, but it plays a powerful role in shaping your subconscious mind. The words you repeat internally become instructions, and over time, they form beliefs that guide your behavior. Self-talk is one of the most direct ways to communicate with your subconscious mind. It is continuous, personal, and deeply influential. Whether it is positive or negative, your subconscious listens without judgment and begins to accept it as truth. If you constantly tell yourself that you are capable, focused, and strong, your subconscious moves in that direction. If you repeatedly say that you are weak, uncertain, or not good enough, your subconscious follows that pattern instead. Most people are not aware of their inner dialogue because it happens automatically. It is shaped by past experiences and reinforced through repetition. Over time, it becomes a habit that runs in the background, influencing how you feel and act in different situations. The important realization is that you have the ability to change this dialogue. You are not required to accept every thought that appears. You can observe your thoughts and choose which ones to repeat and strengthen. This shift from unconscious thinking to conscious awareness is the beginning of control. The subconscious mind responds strongly to repetition, so the thoughts you repeat most often become your dominant beliefs. Even if you try to think positively for a short time, negative patterns can still dominate if they are repeated more frequently throughout the day. This is why consistency in self-talk is essential. To improve your inner dialogue, you must first become aware of it. Pay attention to what you say to yourself in different situations. Notice how you respond to challenges, mistakes, and opportunities. Do you encourage yourself or criticize yourself? Do you focus on solutions or problems? This awareness reveals the patterns that are shaping your subconscious. Once you recognize these patterns, you can begin to change them. When a negative thought appears, you do not need to fight it aggressively, but you can replace it with a more constructive one. For example, Instead of saying, "I cannot do this," you shift to, "I will learn how to do this." This simple change directs your subconscious toward growth instead of limitation. It is important that your self-talk, if you use statements that feel completely unrealistic, your mind may reject them. Instead, use language that is supportive and progressive. Words like "I am improving," "I am learning," and "I am becoming" create a sense of movement and are easier for the subconscious to accept. Emotion strengthens self-talk. When you repeat a thought with feeling, it becomes more powerful. If you say, "I am confident," while feeling calm and strong, your subconscious receives a stronger signal than if you repeat the words without emotion. This combination of repetition and feeling is what creates lasting change. Another effective approach is speaking to yourself in the same way you would speak to someone you care about. Instead of being harsh and critical, you become supportive and encouraging. This shift changes the tone of your inner dialogue and creates a healthier relationship with yourself. For example, there was a person who constantly criticized his performance at work. Whenever he made a small mistake, he would say to himself, "I always mess things up." This pattern created stress and reduced his confidence over time. He decided to become aware of his inner dialogue and change it. Whenever he noticed a critical thought, he replaced it with, "I am learning from this, I will improve." He also made an effort to acknowledge his successes, no matter how small. At first, it felt unusual, but he continued consistently. Over time, his subconscious began to accept this new pattern. His confidence increased, and his performance improved because his inner dialogue was no longer working against him. Another example is a woman who wanted to develop a sense of self-worth, but struggled with feelings of inadequacy. Her inner dialogue was filled with comparison and self-doubt. She would often think, "Others are better than me, and I do not deserve success." She began practicing intentional self-talk each day. She repeated statements such as, "I value myself," and "I am capable of growth." But more importantly, she focused on feeling these words. She reminded herself of her strengths and past achievements and allowed herself to feel appreciation for who she was. Over time, her subconscious started adopting this new perspective. She began to act with more confidence and stopped limiting herself based on old beliefs. These examples show that self-talk is not just a reflection of your thoughts, it is a tool for shaping them. When you change your inner dialogue, you change the instructions you give to your subconscious. It is also important to be patient. Changing self-talk is a process, because old patterns may have been repeated for years. The goal is not to eliminate negative thoughts instantly, but to gradually reduce their influence and replace them with supportive ones. Each time you choose a positive direction, you strengthen a new pattern. Your subconscious mind is always listening and responding to your inner dialogue. Whether you are aware of it or not, you are constantly programming yourself. The question is whether you are doing it intentionally or by default. To command your subconscious mind, you must take control of your self-talk. Choose words that align with your goals, repeat them consistently, and support them with emotion. Over time, your subconscious will accept these messages and begin to reflect them in your behavior and results. As your inner dialogue changes, you'll notice a shift in how you see yourself and the world. Challenges will feel more manageable, opportunities will feel more accessible, and your actions will become more aligned with your goals. This transformation begins with the simple but powerful act of changing how you speak to yourself. This chapter reveals a fundamental truth. Your inner voice shapes your outer reality. When you learn to guide that voice with intention, you gain a direct path to influencing your subconscious mind and creating lasting change in your life. Chapter 9. Overcoming fear and limiting beliefs. Fear and limiting beliefs are among the strongest forces that control the subconscious mind. They act like invisible barriers that hold you back from growth, success, and new experiences. These barriers are not always based on reality, but once they are accepted by the subconscious, they feel real and powerful. Fear is often created as a protective response. It is meant to keep you safe from danger, but over time, it can expand beyond real threats and begin to limit your actions. The subconscious mind remembers past experiences, especially those connected with strong emotion. If something once caused pain, embarrassment, or failure, the subconscious may try to prevent you from facing a similar situation again. Limiting beliefs are thoughts that you accept as truth, even if they are not accurate. These beliefs often begin in early experiences or repeated messages from others. If you hear often that something is difficult or that you are not capable, your subconscious stores this as a belief. Over time, it becomes a filter through which you see the world. The problem is that the subconscious does not question these beliefs. It treats them as facts and shapes your behavior accordingly. You may avoid opportunities, hesitate to take action, or give up quickly, not because you lack ability, but because your subconscious is trying to stay within the limits it has accepted. To command your subconscious mind, you must learn to recognize and overcome these fears and limiting beliefs. This begins with awareness. You must identify the thoughts that hold you back. Pay attention to moments where you feel hesitation or doubt. Ask yourself, what belief is? This does not mean ignoring it, but examining whether it is truly valid. Many beliefs are based on past situations that no longer apply, or on assumptions that were never tested. When you question them, you create space for new possibilities. Replacing limiting beliefs requires repetition and emotional reinforcement. You introduce new thoughts that support your growth, and repeat them consistently while taking small actions that confirm them. Each positive experience weakens the old belief and strengthens the new one. Fear can be reduced by gradual exposure. When you face a situation in small, manageable steps, your subconscious learns that it is not as dangerous as it once believed. Each time you face the fear and come out safely, the emotional intensity decreases and confidence begins to grow. It is important to understand that fear does not disappear instantly. The goal is not to eliminate it completely, but to reduce its control. You can still feel fear and choose to act anyway. Each time you do this, you send a message to your subconscious that you are capable, and this gradually changes the pattern. Another effective method is visualization combined with emotion. When you imagine yourself facing a fear, calmly and successfully, you prepare your subconscious for the real experience. This reduces uncertainty and builds a sense of familiarity, making it easier to take action. For example, there was a person who had a strong fear of failure. He avoided trying new things because he believed that failing would prove he was not capable. This belief limited his growth and kept him in a comfort zone. He decided to change his approach by redefining failure. Instead of seeing it as a negative outcome, he began to view it as a learning process. He repeated to himself that every attempt brings improvement, and he visualized himself trying new things with confidence, even if the outcome was not perfect. He also started taking small risks where the consequences were manageable. Each time he acted despite fear and learned from the experience, his subconscious began to shift. The belief that failure was dangerous weakened and was replaced with the idea that it was part of growth. Over time, he became more willing to take action, and his confidence increased. Another example is a woman who believed she was not good at communicating her ideas. She often stayed silent in discussions because she feared being judged or misunderstood. This belief was based on past experiences where she felt ignored. She began by identifying this belief and questioning it. She realized that it was not always true and that she had moments where she communicated effectively. She then practiced expressing her ideas in smaller settings where she felt more comfortable. She also visualized herself speaking clearly and being understood. As she repeated these actions, her subconscious started accepting a new belief that she could communicate effectively. Her fear of speaking reduced, and she became more confident in sharing her thoughts even in larger groups. These examples show that fear and limiting beliefs are not permanent. They are patterns that can be changed with awareness, repetition, and action. The subconscious mind adapts when it receives new experiences and consistent signals. It is also important to be patient and compassionate with yourself. Overcoming fear is a process, and setbacks may occur, but each effort contributes to change. The key is to continue moving forward, even if the progress feels slow. When you begin to overcome fear and replace limiting beliefs, you open yourself to new opportunities. You start to see possibilities where you once saw obstacles, and your actions reflect this new perspective. This shift creates a powerful cycle, where growth leads to more confidence, and confidence leads to more growth. Your subconscious mind is not your enemy in this process. It is simply following the instructions it has been given. When you provide new instructions through thought, emotion, and action, it begins to adjust and support your progress. This chapter reveals a critical truth. The limits you experience are often created within your own mind. When you learn to recognize challenge and replace these limits, you gain the ability to move beyond them. By doing so, you take another important step. The subconscious mind is always working towards something, even when you are not aware of it. It does not distinguish between random thoughts or intentional goals. It simply follows patterns and reinforces what you focus on most consistently. This is why setting clear goals is one of the most powerful ways to command your subconscious. A goal is more than just a wish. It is a specific desired outcome that your conscious mind chooses to focus on. When you clearly define a goal and combine it with belief, repetition, and emotion, your subconscious begins to align your thoughts, habits, and actions toward achieving it. Goals act as a compass for the subconscious. They provide direction and purpose so that your mental energy is focused rather than scattered. The process begins with clarity. Vague intentions, such as "I want to be successful," are not enough. The subconscious needs a detailed image to follow. What exactly does success look like? How will it feel? What actions will it require? The more precise the goal, the easier it is for the subconscious to understand and act on it. Once you have clarity, you must attach emotion. Goals without feeling are weak. Your subconscious responds to experiences that are emotionally charged. If you feel excitement, anticipation, and satisfaction when thinking about your goal, your subconscious receives a strong signal that this outcome is important and worth pursuing. Repetition is another essential element. When you focus on your goals daily through thought, visualization, or journaling, you continuously feed them to your subconscious. This repetition strengthens the mental patterns associated with the goal and gradually replaces old patterns that may have been limiting or contradictory. It is also important to break large goals into smaller, achievable steps. When a goal seems overwhelming, the subconscious may resist because it perceives danger or uncertainty. By creating manageable milestones, you provide your subconscious with repeated experiences of success. This reinforces confidence and builds momentum toward the larger objective. Another key point is alignment between conscious and subconscious beliefs. If your conscious goal conflicts with a deeply held limiting belief, your subconscious will resist. You may set a goal to speak confidently in public, but believe deep down that you are not capable. This conflict creates hesitation and procrastination. The solution is to first address limiting beliefs through repetition, visualization, and emotional reinforcement, so that your subconscious is ready to support the goal. For example, there was a young professional who wanted to earn a promotion, but felt unworthy of leadership. She set a clear goal of leading a team and visualized herself making decisions confidently. She combined this with repeated affirmations of competence and small actions, demonstrating leadership at work. Over time, her subconscious began aligning her behavior with her goal. She noticed opportunities to take initiative, and her interactions became more assertive. Her confidence grew naturally, and she earned the promotion she had visualized and prepared for. Another example is a student who wanted to excel in his studies, but was distracted and lacked motivation. He set a clear goal of achieving top grades in his subjects and visualized the feeling of satisfaction after completing assignments and exams successfully. He repeated supportive statements to himself daily and established a consistent study routine. His subconscious began to guide his behavior automatically. He found himself avoiding distractions, focusing more during study sessions, and seeking resources to improve. His consistent actions reflected his internal programming, and he achieved the results he desired. These examples illustrate how goals direct the subconscious. By providing clarity, repetition, emotion, and alignment, you create a mental map that your subconscious follows naturally. The more consistent, it is important to maintain patience, because the subconscious operates gradually. Over time, your habits, decisions, and reactions begin to reflect your goals without constant effort. This is the power of alignment between conscious intention and subconscious programming. To maximize the effectiveness of goals, you should review and reinforce them daily. Visualize the outcome, feel the emotions associated with success, repeat supportive statements, and take consistent action. Small daily practices accumulate and embed the goal deeply into your subconscious. Another essential factor is flexibility. Goals should guide your subconscious, but not create rigid expectations that generate stress. If your path changes or you face obstacles, you adjust your plan while keeping the desired outcome clear. Your subconscious can adapt as long as the focus remains consistent. When your goals, beliefs, emotions, and actions are aligned, your subconscious becomes a powerful ally. It works behind the scenes, guiding your attention, shaping habits, and creating opportunities that match your intentions. This alignment turns ordinary effort into extraordinary results. This chapter emphasizes that goals are not just plans. They are tools for programming the subconscious mind. When you set clear, emotionally charged, and repeated goals, your subconscious aligns with them, and your daily actions begin to reflect what once seemed impossible. By mastering the art of goal setting, mastering your subconscious mind. The journey to commanding your subconscious mind is a path of awareness, intention, and consistent practice. Your subconscious is not a separate force controlling your life. It is a powerful ally that responds to the patterns, beliefs, emotions, and instructions you provide. Everything you think, feel, and repeat becomes a signal that shapes your reality over time. Understanding this gives you the power to consciously guide your mind toward growth, confidence, and success. Throughout this book, we explored key principles that reveal how your subconscious operates and how to influence it. You learned that belief and repetition form the foundation of internal programming, that visualization and emotion act as the language your subconscious understands, and that habits and inner dialogue turn thoughts into automatic action. You discovered that silencing the inner critic, overcoming fear, and reshaping limiting beliefs are essential steps in freeing your mind from invisible barriers. You also saw how goals and environment provide direction and reinforcement, ensuring that your subconscious works for you rather than against you. The examples throughout the chapters demonstrate that change is always possible. The student who transformed nervousness into confidence, the professional who overcame fear of leadership, and the individual who replaced procrastination with productivity, each shows that consistent, intentional effort rewires the subconscious to support your desired reality. This process requires patience because the mind cannot be rushed. Old patterns that have been reinforced for years take time to shift, but each small step moves you closer to mastery. Commanding your subconscious is not about forcing perfection or eliminating all negative thoughts. It is about awareness, gentle redirection, and consistent reinforcement of supportive patterns. It is about learning to guide your thoughts, choose your beliefs, and engage your emotions in ways that align with your goals. It is about creating an internal environment where confidence, creativity, and resilience naturally flourish. As you move forward, remember that your subconscious mind will always follow the instructions it is given. By feeding it clear goals, supportive self-talk, vivid visualization, consistent habits, and empowering emotions. You are not just imagining a better future, you are creating it. Your life reflects the patterns you program internally. The power to transform your reality lies within you. Every thought, feeling, and action is an opportunity to reinforce the life you want. By mastering the principles in this book and committing to intentional practice, you can turn your subconscious mind into a loyal ally, a guide that propels you toward your highest potential. Your journey does not end here. It is an ongoing process of learning, observing, and growing. With clarity, belief, emotion, and consistency, you can command your subconscious mind to support your dreams, overcome obstacles, and lead you to a life that reflects your deepest aspirations. The mind you have is powerful, but the mind you create is limitless. The end.